Hi, Verna Fisher here. Integrative Wisdom, Elder Care Coaching and Consulting. Must be a Thursday. Hi, everybody. Hope you're doing well. Today's topic is potentially a little bit of a heavy topic. It's on the idea of forgiveness, reconciling our memories of our loved one, um, and the wish and the hope that they might show a little bit of um, sorriness, that they have an awareness that maybe some of the things that they did in their life with their loved ones was were hurtful, some of those things, and that they recognize that now, and that they want to ask forgiveness, and they want to show that they are sorry and make amends. After all, that's kind of what our generation has been taught, right? To make amends when we do things that have impinged upon others and hurt them. And yet the elders of our time really weren't taught that. We really didn't have the psychology that we do today. So they weren't given those tools most of the time. And they just, what is it? Uh, Picked up their bootstraps and kept on walking, whatever it was, however you say that. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps. That's it. So anyway, when we get to a place where we're nearing maybe the end of our life, or we are having, realizing that we're not going to have maybe that many years left, it would be nice to think that we are going to go and do that life review and be able to say thank you and I'm sorry, those kinds of things. I love you. But it's been my experience in hospice that if we didn't do that earlier, we're probably not going to do it on our deathbed or when we're very, very elderly and frail. After all, think about it. The body is starting to not be as agile. There may be lots and lots of physical symptoms that are occurring that take a lot of energy. The mind may or may not have its capacity that it had in the past. So to hope and pray for that kind of closure is probably going to be a prayer unanswered. And so how do we deal with that, right? How do we get to that place where we can let go of that hope, right? And to be present to the elder just as they are right then and there. Well, I wanted to share a little bit from a friend of mine who is providing care for her mom, who is 93 and a half. And, as you sit with an elder person, there's some time where you can talk and have conversations potentially. Um, and as they were going over some of the life stories of their family, one of the things that her mom shared with her was the idea that I'm going to read it to you. You always look back on your life and see things differently. This is wisdom coming from a 93 and a half year old. And yet, even when we can do that, it may not be that we can make amends. That it may be just enough to realize that as we look back, what we thought, how we responded to situations in our life may have not been the only way, and yet that was what we did. And so therefore we're left with that, right? With this time as the caregiver, it probably would serve you better if you showed up to your own expectations and allowed yourself to ponder them a little bit more and really see if you can simply acknowledge and then let them go. And I'm not going to say that you can forget them, as they say, but there is that sense of forgiving and choosing, consciously choosing to move forward with kind of a new baseline. And it's going to require that you probably go back and visit that more than once, because it's going to continue to be that loop that plays in your head. And so it's not that that loop is going to disappear. It's just going to be the way that you respond to it quicker and hit the stop button, right? Hit the stop button. One of the things that I've learned over the years is that we can truly only understand, really, once we get to those places that the elders have been. So, for example, I really couldn't understand what it felt like to be a grandmother when my mom became a grandma to my kids until I became a grandma, right? And then all of a sudden, it's like this whole new vision appeared to me of what it means to love your child's child. And there were those places, those memories where I had to go back and kind of like in my head apologize to my mom because I didn't quite understand what it was like for her as a grandma. So, and of course, there were times when I had that conversation and said, "Hey, Ma, I'm really sorry that I didn't quite understand what it was like to be a grandma." So it's the same way, most likely, when we get to being the elder and we're the one that's needing the care and we're the one that is being asked the tough questions. You know, why'd you raise me this way? Or whatever it might be. So again, recognizing, I guess, point one, recognizing that the elder is most likely not going to give you what you need. Most likely. If they do, wonderful. But most likely, they're not going to have the capacity to do that. Number two, you have the responsibility, damn it, you have the responsibility to heal your own memory, your own response, your own way that you looked at things that happened in your life. And Lord have mercy, people, if you are 40 and beyond, it's time for you to let go of blaming your parents for your life. You are now the responsible one. It is now up to you to do your healing. It is now up to you to figure out how to go forward given what you were given as a young child. And I'm not saying there's not trauma work for some individuals that need to be done. I am not really speaking to the deep level traumas. I'm speaking to the kind of like the ups and downs of life that we go through. Feeling that we were never understood, thinking that, we were adopted because everybody was so different than us in our family, those kinds of things, right? Or, not getting those messages of support that we were hoping that we could get, right? So this video is a little bit longer than I try to make them, but I feel like there was... and I feel like there still is probably a whole lot more that we could talk about. So if you do have things that you want to run by me, please do send me a message. Otherwise, start to pay attention. See if you can begin to allow the elder to be where they're at and your own needs to be kind of set aside, to be figured out by you at some point on your journey. All right, thanks a lot. And again, if you find any value to this and you would be so kind as to tell a friend, I would really appreciate it. These are going to be up on the YouTube channel, so people can find them there if they don't go to Facebook. And here's to a beautiful Thursday. Thanks a lot, guys.